I'm going to just introduce myself, Jerry, and Ron. I'm Jenny Ingberg. I'm the CEO and president of Chess in the Schools.
Hi, I'm Ronald Boocock. I'm Director of School Programs. I've been working in Chess in the Schools for 25 years. Best thing I've ever done in my life.
Hi, I'm Jerry Nash. I'm chairman of the Chess and Education Commission, and I taught Ron chess as a child.
Hey, stop it. Yeah, stop it.
The sentence works.
So you knew
As a
Jesus back in
child,
the
you-
day.
Well, okay, yeah, it could have worked either way. So,
Did Jesus play chess?
well, sort of, yeah.
Well, I don't think it was invented.
Goodness, these guys are going to be doing this whole session. So we're going to take some time to go over your boards, but Jerry's going to do a bit of an introduction
Okay,
first.
great. And because this has been talked about a lot during the conference, I'm going to speed through this because we talk about chess and education defined, and you've heard a lot about, chess is the tool to teach other things. Some of us teach chess as mainly chess. Some of us teach chess as education. But what this seminar is about, this workshop, is about training the trainer, about how do you train either a chess coach or in many cases a classroom teacher who may or may not have a chess background. So part of what this is about is what chess and education is not, and we've talked about that earlier, about it's not about replacing curriculum, it's not about just after school programming, and it's not necessarily about competition. There's not anything wrong with that, but chess and education has a little bit different focus. It's often taught by classroom teachers. And what chess and education is, using chess to teach curriculum, building academic 21st century skills, and accessing every student. One of the things that we see is oftentimes chess programs spend more and more time on fewer and fewer students. And so from our background, we want every student to have access to these kinds of skills. And so if you're approaching an education community, they're not interested in your chess goals and trophies. Well, I think I was telling someone at lunch, I don't know of any teacher who gets paid extra or keeps her or his job because of chess trophies. I'm pretty sure that's true in the New York schools as well as it is in Tennessee, where some of them don't know what a chess trophy is. So anyway, okay. So Jenny, and by the way, thank you. She's passing around something. If you would put your name and your email address. Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you to take us through the next part of the introduction.
Great. So we spent a little time asking you who you are. But I guess the most important question before we start learning anything new is, why are you here? Why is it that you've come and decided to learn how to train the trainer? And we could just popcorn some answers. What are some initial feelings about why you've shown up today?
I'm just curious.
You're just curious. That's okay. Curiosity is the best way to start learning.
I've started what I hope will turn into a system-wide, public school system-wide opportunity for students at any level to play chess for free at the local library.
Okay.
And I have the option of using student service learning hours, so I've got, some chess team captains, high school, and we're at that point where they need to know how to teach.
Yeah. Who, just out of curiosity, I know you all play chess, but how many of you have an education background?
Oh,
An education background, like you actually have been taught how to teach.
oh yeah. Okay, I've been teaching for 18 years.
Yeah, or how about you've gone to some other sort of training that has supported your learning of how to teach? Okay, so we've got sort of a mixed group.
Do we have any teachers in here?
Yes.
No?
Other reasons for showing up today?
Communication?
Expand.
I think if you're good at training, you're also good at communicating. So you can use that tool and project it in other areas.
That's great. That's great. So really, go ahead.
I'm at Marshall Club and we're actually having difficulty to find good coaches for our programs right now.
Yeah.
And we're thinking to train trainers.
Yeah, so I guess there's different approaches to that, like finding people who want to do the work and just need to learn how to do the work. Whether it's high school students or adults who just love the game. But there's definitely an art to teaching, as some of you know from being in the classroom, especially when you're working with big groups. So any other reasons that you're here today?
Just to determine how to self-multiply.
How to what?
Self-multiply.
Set up your plan?
Self-multiply, like multiply myself through others.
That's great.
Mm.
All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to model how we might go about teaching a group that doesn't come in with the same experience that necessarily you have. But what will we go into a room and do when we have a group of people who we want to send off into schools? Whether it's classroom teachers who have never taught before, high school students who love the game, but clearly their only experience with education has been in the school system themselves. Grown-ups who maybe haven't been in the school system for a really long time but are passionate about what they do. And so we have two master chess instructors here. My background is not in chess. I have a doctorate in science education, so you can ask me how to teach science later. We're going to focus on chess today. And Jerry, I think I have to go to the next slide, huh?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you for being here.
Yes, most of all.
Well, thank you for
Otherwise,
offering
we
this
keep
class.
talking to nobody.
Right.
Okay. I think we're ready for the next one.
Yeah, go ahead.
You've got the clicker.
Oh, no, I
I
already
don't
went
have-
to this slide. Don't you want to go over the 8 queens?
Oh, that's you. Oh,
Oh.
I'm sorry, that's right.
Let's
Sorry about
send
that.
this-
We're coordinating.
Yeah, there you go.
You took the queens
This has been
out.
weeks in the morning.
Challenge you.
Jerry, you took the, I'm not going to put them back in.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. I
But
ruined
what
it.
I'm going to give you is
Collaborating.
the cheat sheet with all the different variations.
Thank you.
Because, as I said before, you may not have heard me, I did this once in the classroom, and I couldn't get the 8 queens on the demo board. And the kids looked at me and it was like, oh no. So from then on, I always made sure I had one of these. Plus the fact it's very interesting. The fact that there are 92 known solutions. That's a lot. And the reason there's 92, I think what we've got here is 6 patterns.
There is a mathematical fact that tells you how to place the first queen.
Well,
Can you do it in the corner?
I will.
Thank you. While Ron's doing that, let me just, what did you notice about what was happening in this room when you entered this room? Let's just go, well, you're getting the answer and the solutions. What did you notice about what was happening in this room when you entered the room? Put on your teacher hat.
Oh.
What did you notice?
Well, as soon as I get in, everybody's trying to set up the table and see what's going on. Everybody was looking around. So kind of like everybody was curious about what was the content was about.
Now, why do you think we would start having you all enter the room with that kind of environment?
Well,
I think-
tone's down.
Oh, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I'll come back here.
I think if you come in with a curiosity, you have a different type of energy because just by nature, when you're curious about something, you're tending to figure out what exactly is it, how do I fit into what this process is going to be, and then when you realize that it's something that we're all being asked to solve, you get into and digging in what's the solution, whether it's digging a hole to figure out what's under the hole or just something like that.
Great. And did you want to add something to that? I know
Sorry,
you're-
me?
Yeah, I know you're busy.
No, it's fine. I can
Tony,
multitask.
sorry about that.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
I came in and I wasn't sure exactly what was going on, but I know Fernando, and I sat down and he said, oh, you helped me with this, and it wasn't clear exactly what we were trying to do for me.
Okay.
So, but it got us talking. It's like, what are you doing?
Mm.
What are you trying to
Well,
do?
so we noticed that there was curiosity, there was engagement, there was collaboration
Right.
and conversation, most of which was about what was happening on the board, right?
Mhm.
It wasn't a whole lot of like, hi, I'm so-and-so, let's
No.
like, you know, just hang out and relax until the people at the front of the room decide to start talking. You were actively involved in something. And that's really important because when we work with kids, we want them engaged right away. Just like you said, we want them to be curious. We want them to see the challenge. And we want them to enter the room and sit at the board and know that there's gonna be something that they're gonna be asked to do that's gonna help them learn something interesting. And so, yeah.
I think, just to add to the point that I made when we walked in with the curiosity is, the minute I became curious, anything I had about me before I walked into that door went completely into the background. So it was basically me entering a whole new space as if I had just shut the door behind me, without the door being shut.
Amazing, amazing. So one little addition to this whole we're gonna model what we would do with teachers is that throughout this session, there's gonna be moments where we're gonna ask you to act like students, just like you did when you walked in the door. And then there's gonna be moments where we're gonna say, wait, put on your teacher hat, you're gonna be teacher right now, and why do you think we had our students doing what they were doing? And those are the moments, those metacognitive moments, that are gonna help you reflect and think about how to do this in your own classrooms. So, I'm gonna go sit down and let the chess masters take over.
Okay, so I talk about the two hats a little differently when I'm talking to teachers because my background is as a teacher. My wife has been a teacher for 30 plus years. So when I'm with a group of teachers, I say, okay, during this week, we're all going to be schizophrenic. Because some of them are that close anyway, you know, when they're dealing with students. So, but it's the same idea. You're wearing these hats, you're going to be a student, but at the same time, you're going to be thinking about this from a teacher. So we try to model what it is that we're doing. Now, in this, when I am dealing with teachers, I'll go through the room, and we did this earlier in a little bit different way. I'll say a scale of 1 to 5. 1, you know, you've seen a chess set in your life. 5, you're a really strong chess player, where you rate yourself. And in the US, I'll get 0, -1, -2. You know, which means not only do they not know much about chess, they're afraid of the game. They're intimidated by the game. So I immediately know kind of where the audience is. So in training the trainer, it's important, and that's why Jenny did what she did in terms of, you know, I am that, you know, that's me, to find out who you are. So, and in a limited time. So I'm going to model something in terms of reading the board, which you all know, I know you know it, but I'm going to model it, and then I'm going to talk about how I do it with teachers. Because again, I'm dealing with an audience who largely do not know anything about chess. You know, they can spell the word, you know, in most cases, but that's pretty much what they do. So we start talking with an empty board. Now I have to tell you that many of the teachers that I work with, especially for the women, they will come up and they will say, my husband tried to teach me how to play chess. It was a disaster. My favorite story is I was teaching in Baton Rouge, Louisiana a number of years ago, and we were, first day, you know, we'd introduced the rules. The second day, yeah, they're coming in and putting things down, and this teacher walked up to me and she said, found out yesterday my husband's been cheating on me. I go, that's way more information than I want to know. And she said, yeah, you told us yesterday you can't castle out a check. He's been doing that to me for years. Okay. So I said, I do marriage counseling, so that's actually why I do these sessions, to generate that. Okay, so one of the things that I will start with is just simply the empty board. And you probably do the same thing, but for a lot of people, they were actually taught with all the pieces on the board starting out. This moves like this moves like this moves like this. You ready to play? And they're running from the room. No, I don't want anything to do with that. The other principle is moving from simple to complex. So we start with an empty board, and then we gradually add pieces. So in this section, I'm going to do a couple of exercises. Hold me to the time, so kind of give me a signal. So I start with, we talk about the vocabulary of the board, ranks, files, diagonals. We talk about, that's directionality. And then I'll ask them, how many squares do you see on the board? And of course, their first answer is generally what?
64.
64 squares. And then I ask them, how did you do that? And then they say, 8 times 8. And I said, well, okay, that works unless you're in first and second grade because they can't do multiplication yet. And in fact, I was doing one mixed group and I was talking about names of the squares, and it was like first grade through 8th grade. And then I see some of these like first graders sitting on the front row, and I could tell they were on the verge of tears. And I said, so what's wrong? I don't know all my numbers, and I don't know all my letters. It's okay, it's okay, we'll be there. Okay, so, so then we talk about naming the squares. There's a lot of people use a lot of different methods. I personally use my name is Jerry Nash. It's not Nash Jerry, except some places in India. It's not Nash Jerry, it's Jerry Nash. Every square has a first name and a last name. Now some people use street address. I don't, because I grew up in the country. There were no street names. There were no streets. There were barely roads, literally. And so I use first name and last name because most, even younger students, can relate to that. Some of them don't know their last name in kindergarten. But so we'll do first name and last name. And so I talk about, the first name is a letter, last name is a number. So this square would be A1. What square would this be?
A2.
What square would this be?
A3.
3.
Okay, I need a volunteer. Thank you so much for volunteering. Would you put this pawn on the square C6?
There.
Up here. And there are little slots that you can slide it down into. Okay, did she get it right?
Yep.
Yes.
Give her a hand. All right. Need another volunteer, would you please? I'm calling on them because they can move faster than some of the others. Would you put that pawn on the square G5? Okay, did he get it right?
Yes.
Give him a hand. Okay, so I go through that exercise. Now, in the early days of my training of teachers, it was, in fact, I had to do this like last week. After they put it there, I handed them a piece of candy. Because otherwise, teachers are really reluctant to join in because they're afraid. They're afraid. They don't want to look bad. They don't want to be wrong, just like their students. And sometimes teachers forget what it's like to be students. And so this experience is a reminder for them, this is what your students are experiencing. And so we've gone through, we've talked about how, the names of the squares, we've talked about directionality, and we've talked a little, without really realizing it, we've also talked a little bit about pattern recognition. But one of the things I also give them then is, how many squares are there on a chessboard? And then I give the caveat, you can't Google the answer. And so then that's their assignment for the next day. How many squares are there on a chessboard? And it's more than 64, but we go through that. And then I talk about, well, okay, nobody's going to give you a pay raise because you know how many squares are on the chessboard. They're not doing that. But so what's the point? One of the things that's happening is that I just changed your perception of what the board looks like. You saw it in one way, but now you're realizing that there are other patterns there. So it's the idea from the very start of embedding that idea of pattern recognition. Because again, if you're dealing with teachers, it doesn't matter what you're teaching. I know John teaches math and some of you may teach other subjects. There's pattern recognition in every area. I taught English and French. There are patterns that you have to know. And so to be able to then to relate that, you're learning pattern recognition. This is going to be applicable to everything else that you're teaching. Okay, so do I have, thank you. Okay, so this is the next exercise I do with an empty board. Most of you will get this without any problem at all. So this is an exercise where I'm going to give you, well, first of all, let me start by saying this. Hang on. Could you find a rook in that bag, please?
I'll try my best.
You remember what they look like? Okay.
Like the castle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I go through directions. And then this exercise, I'm going to give you a set of 3 directions. I'm going to say them twice. And then I want you to tell me what square the rook has. I'll keep working.
Wrong.
That gives us a great opportunity to talk about the difference between the pieces and their shapes.
Seems plan.
Yeah, there you go, thank you. So this is a rook, it looks like a, and we talked about that. So, okay, so I put the rook, what square did I put that on?
A1.
A1, so by this time the teachers, they know that, they're confident, their confidence level's rising. I know that's A1 because that's where we start. Okay, so let me give you some directions because this is important when you're dealing with students. If I say the rook is going to move 5 squares to the right, here's what I mean by that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't start on the square where the rook is sitting, I start on the next square. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because with children, and I've done this with lots of children, they assume you're starting on this square. Why wouldn't you? Well, because I didn't tell you any different. So if I say 5 squares to the right, I'm starting on the next square, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, to the right is this way, to the left is this way. Seniors in high school, they should know that. Kindergarten, 1st grade, not so much. Sometimes even into 2nd grade, left and right, that's still, and then up and down. Because again, one of the things that we would talk about later is the translation process between this board and that board. Because this is 2-dimensional, that's 3-dimensional. There is a translation process. I didn't realize this for a long time. Some of you say, gosh, yeah, well, yeah, I didn't. And so I'm teaching this lesson. Oh my gosh, I was an incredible teacher. Oh, they've learned that. They've learned, oh man, that was great. And okay, now do this on your board. It was as if we had never talked about that in our lives. And it was like 2 seconds ago because of the translation process from this board to that board. So anyway, okay, so are you ready? Got up and down, left and right. Here's the set of 3 directions. I'm going to say them twice, and then I'm going to ask you to give me a thumbs up if you think you know the answer. Okay? The rook is going to move 4 squares to the right. Now the rook is going to move 3 squares up. And now the rook is going to move 2 squares to the left. I'm going to say those directions again. The rook is going to move 4 squares to the right, 3 squares up, 2 squares to the left. Give me a thumbs up if you think you know what square it landed on. Okay? Hands down. Give me a thumbs up if you have no idea what square it landed on. Okay? Give me a thumbs up if you're just not sure. Okay? Those are 3 questions that I ask repeatedly throughout the training. I'll tell you why. Because when I'm with a mixed group, I say, okay, here's the question. I've got 3 boys on the front row raising, I know the answer, I know the answer. I think, how do you know the answer when I haven't asked the question yet? But you know that boys are like that. But there's a girl in the back of the room who's shaking her head. I'm just no good at chess. I'm just no good. I'm not getting this. And the reality is, they don't know the answer. They're just raising their hands. But she's not mature enough to realize that they don't know. And so the idea of, hey, not sure is a good place to be. It means you're still thinking. And you do that repeatedly, and then you'll have more and more the thumbs up. Oh, that's great. You're still thinking about it. Whether they are or not, you're encouraging that process. Okay. So let's come over here to this table. What do you think? Where did it land?
4C.
Or
4C.
Nash Jerry.
Jerry Nash? Not Nash, Jerry.
C4.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. C4. Okay. How many of you said C4? Okay. Hands down. Anyone have a different answer? Okay. Well, let's go through. What was the first one? 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. What square is that?
E1.
E1. Okay. Very good. And then what was the next one? 3 up. 1, 2, 3. What square is that? Okay, and then what was the next one?
2 to the left.
2 to the left, and that was C4. Now, What pattern did you notice in my directions?
Multiplying
You?
What?
numbers.
4,
3,
3, 2. That's an easy pattern to remember. Remember, I'm starting simple, moving to complex. Okay? So then we might do another one and a couple more, and then I'll ask the students, okay, would you like one a little bit harder? Oh yeah, we want to go there. Oh yeah, we can do this. Okay, close your eyes. Okay, close your eyes. Now, here's what I tell my students. When I'm doing this with students, I say, now when I do this with teachers, you know what I have to say? I see your eyes, you're cheating, do not be cheating on me. And then all the kids are laughing because they can imagine their teacher cheating because their teacher's fussing at them all the time for cheating. I said, so close your eyes, don't be like your teacher, close your eyes. Okay, I'm going to give you a set of 3 directions. I'm going to repeat them twice, and then I'll ask you the question. Okay? The rook is going to move 4 squares to the right, 3 squares up, and 2 squares to the right. I'm going to say it again. The rook is going to move 4 squares to the right, 3 squares up, and 2 squares to the right. Here's the question. Is that square light or dark? Give me a thumbs up if you think it's a light square. Okay, give me a thumbs up if you think it's a dark square. Give me a thumbs up if you're not sure. Great, not sure is a great place to be. It means you're still thinking about it. Okay, let's take a look. 4 squares to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. What was the next one?
3 up.
3 up, 1, 2, 3. And what was the next one?
2.
2 to the right. It was a light square. Okay, so then I asked the students, would you like a tip to solve this? Oh yeah, we want a tip, Okay, so let's take a look here. If the rook moved up 1 square, did it change color?
Yep.
Well, hang on. What if the rook moved up 1, 2, 3 squares? Did it change color?
No.
Well,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, yeah, changed color. Okay, so let's take a look. What if it moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares? Did it change color?
Yes.
What's 1, 3, and 5?
Odd.
Odd numbers. So now we're getting into mathematics and we're getting into patterns. Well, hang on. Let's just see. What if it moved 2 squares up? 1, 2. Did it change color? Same color. Well, hang on. What if it moved 1, 2, 3, 4?
Same.
Well, what if it moved 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Same. What's 2, 4, and 6? Even numbers. Now, this does not work for first grade and kindergarten. They don't know odd and even. Second grade, high school, you hope. Okay, so yeah, you don't assume, but you're hoping. So, okay, so now what we've done, we've introduced a new level of patterns, odd and even, and then we come back to the same exercise. Can you solve it? And then typically what will happen is many more. Of course, you know, they got a 50-50 chance to begin with. It was either light or it was dark. But then, you know, oh, I got to solve this. So these are exercises that you can do, empty board, but then now they're becoming familiar with all these patterns. Does a teacher get a pay raise because she knows there's X number of squares on the board? No. Does the teacher get a bonus at the end of the year because they can follow the directions of this? No. But what they have gotten is they've gained a tool. Because when this board goes up, the students are riveted. And, can we get the next one? Back one. Okay. Keep going back. Going back. You're going the wrong direction.
No.
The other back.
The other back. It's the, sorry.
The other back.
No, it's this. Okay. It's this one.
Sorry.
That's it. Ooh.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
So, okay. That's okay. So what happened was, how much time do I have? I'm not.
No, well, I mean, Take 5 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna move on to a next, but anyway, what we're doing is when we do this exercise, what are the students actually doing in this process?
Learning how to think about things.
Well, they're learning how to think about it. What else? What?
Learning about the surface of the
Learning
board.
about the surface. In that exercise, what did they have to do to be successful in the exercise?
No, odd,
Listen.
even number.
Well, they could later on, yeah, odd and even, that would be helpful. Yes?
Knowing the patterns.
Knowing the patterns. Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead. Every teacher that I've ever done this with, this was irrelevant. You know what the students were doing? Following directions. That is a skill that most teachers would die for their students. And we're talking all the way into college, that they can't follow directions. I've got a friend who teaches at Ole Miss. They don't have that. And they're in college. So when teachers see this exercise, the first thing that they hone in on is they're actually following directions. And they had to listen, and you didn't repeat it 42 times. Because that's what they have to do every single day, is repeat it 42 times, and then they still don't get it. So you're training them to follow directions, but you're using chess as the vehicle to get there. Okay, so this one, and I'll go through this one really quickly. Normally I would have you do this, but we're running out of time. So this is what I call a hungry pieces exercise, or and it goes by different names. So I would start with, the piece has to eat something on every move, but it has to eat dessert last. Now, I've used 2 words that, depending on the grade level, they don't know. What is it, Fernando? First and last. They don't necessarily know what those words mean. So part of what we talk about for teachers is having a word wall. So we've got all these new words up there: chess, rank, file, diagonal, all these kind of things. Now we're adding first and last. So we've got to have it. So I would be thinking, if I were doing this on the board, I would be thinking out loud. Well, you know, I bet I could capture that pawn first. Oh, no, I can't do that because rooks don't move that way. I forgot. So I'm modeling out loud the thought process. Well, oh, I can capture right here. Oh, wait, no, that's first, that's not last. Okay, can't do that. Well, there's only one other choice. I've got to go right here, and then where could I go next? Well, I could go right here. Oh, and then I got that last. So, yeah, that's pretty simple for us, not for a first grader necessarily, but it's fairly simple. But I've modeled the thought process. So it's the I do, we do, you do. So the second one would be, then we do this together. Okay, so now this is a bit more complex. And so now we're going through that same process, and well, where do you think you'd move first? Well, tell me the name of that square. Okay, well, let's do this, and then we go through and we solve it. But we did it together. So I do, we do, and again, I'm still modeling that process of thinking out loud, because I'm helping the students realize, here's how you think about things. Because often we tell them, you need to think about this, and they don't know how to think. So that's pretty much frustrating kinds of work. And then finally, okay, I want you to work with a partner, and I want you to solve this one, and there may be more than one solution. And so now they would get together, and they're looking through, and then finally I say, you know, get me a hands up, you know, whenever you're finished, and I go around, okay, yeah, that's great, that's great. And then here's the question, how did you solve it? I did this like last week with my wife's school, group of teachers. Most of them never seen a chess set. So we got to this exercise, and I asked, how did you solve it? To every single table, it was like 50 teachers, every single one of them, it was trial and error. Mm-hmm. I started here, and then I went there, and I went, no, that's not going to work. Okay, start over. And so it was trial and error. I said, okay, can you think of another way to solve it? And not one single teacher could think of a different way to solve. Some of you instantly thought of a different way. Somebody who thought of a different way, what? How might a different, other than trial and error, how might you try to solve it?
Together.
Well, together we're working on it, but what's that process? How did we solve it?
But that would be collaboration.
Well, no, they were all collaborating, so we did have a collaborative process, but the process of thinking about the problem. So we all used trial and error. We tried this, didn't work, tried that, ooh, that worked, and then we solved it. Is there a different way to approach it? Fernando?
For me, is what will be the last move and coming from there.
Did you hear what he said?
What will be the last move?
What would be the last move? Well, what's the last piece that gets captured?
Rook.
The rook. So we start from the end and work backwards. That's a different way of thinking. Because at the end of the day, no teacher, no school principal gives a flip whether you can capture a rook on a chessboard. They do want you to know how to think and solve problems using different methods other than trial and error. Because a lot of our students live their lives in trial and error, and it's not working out for them. So, yes, John?
Just the term trial and error at some educational institutions that I teach at, they don't allow that phrase any longer.
Yep.
Do you want to say, do you know why? I mean...
Error?
Error, yeah. It's somehow regarded as a kind of negative. I don't know if that's the case here.
It's not here.
What do you say instead, like iterative design?
Trial and success, something like that. It's the idea that you make it in the end. So.
And yet some of our...
I don't agree with it, by the way. I think
Well,
trial and error is good.
Okay.
And that's the other thing, and John just brought up a good point. Depending on where you are, the nomenclature that's being used by the teachers, you need to know that. Because if I came in and I'm saying trial and error, and I'm raising their blood pressure while I'm doing that, then I need to think, well, what in their context should I be saying? So it's the same thing if I'm, and for a lot of chess players going into a school, this is a foreign language. The education community has a foreign language, and if you don't know that, so I'm glad that you brought that up.
Well, just to add, it's also very geographic, right? So when you all are saying that you're from different countries, even from state to state in the U.S., there's certain things that are allowable and are not allowable to be said within a classroom along those same lines.
Sure.
And even sometimes I try to use a good bit of humor with the teachers simply because I know that this is a stress level place for them trying to learn about chess. Some of the things that I say, which in one area would be, and another area, hey, you don't need to be saying that. Okay, thanks for letting me know. So, yes?
I'm going to throw in the requirement that the rook must change direction in every move.
Okay. So again, when I first started, I didn't do the up, down, left, right, and I didn't do we start on this square. And then I realized, when my students were coming up with all kind of incredible answers, that, okay, my directions were not very good. So I had to learn from my students, here's how you improve directions, because often the case is, it's not that they don't understand the chess, they don't understand the words that we're using. They don't know that vocabulary. And so that becomes, and again, as Jenny said, that can vary even from school to school in the same district. You don't know what background they're from. Okay.
Well, so I mean, just to go along with that, so, Jerry gave you an amazing case, right? A concrete example of something you could do in your classroom, or with a group of teachers, or that they could do in a classroom. But, when we think about how we design professional learning experiences for people who are about to be instructors, we really want to think about where are they coming from? What are the rules of the game in their environment? Because there are all sorts of contextual things about who they're working with, Are they in a classroom where they have special ed students sitting alongside general ed students? Are they in a multilingual situation? How are you gonna really design the experience for them so that they know how to interact with their students? Now the upside is that every single one of you in the room, just like every single teacher that comes into your space, has a lot of expertise in their own context. And so there's ways that you can leverage the knowledge of the teachers as you're imparting on them the knowledge of how to teach chess, right? So when I look at like mine and Ron's collaboration, we work together a lot. I come in with a lot of expertise on education. He comes in with a lot of expertise on chess and a long history of working in schools. We play off each other a lot because he really has a deep knowledge of kids and classrooms and schools and different individual principal expectations. Like this principal really cares about mathematics, and that principal has a school that's filled with children who are deaf. Like whatever the circumstances are, we're able to have these conversations and then say, okay, who are the teachers in the room gonna be? How are we gonna help them contribute to the conversation that we're having with them in their professional learning experiences? And then how are we gonna bring something new and interesting to them in terms of chess? And thinking about how chess can be a tool for them with their students. Because the truth of the matter is that we all love and appreciate chess and see all the wonderful things that it can do for kids, but it does different things for different people. When we're learning chess, there's all sorts of different ways that we can grow and do grow. And so where our emphasis lies, like Jerry predominantly talked about patterns in the last example. When we were thinking about the patterns and the mathematics, and he clearly said this isn't gonna work with kindergarten and first grade. So if you have a room of kindergarten and first grade teachers, that's probably not the exercise you're gonna choose. So it's really, really being thoughtful about who you're working with, what experiences they're coming in with, and the kids that they're working alongside to engage in this experience. And then that concrete example. Like I'm talking very much in abstraction right now. So Ron is actually gonna come in next and give another concrete example of a kind of activity that you can do that will engage learning. But you know, one of the things that we can do afterwards is say, okay, now if we were using that example with this set of kids in this kind of environment, or with these rules of not saying trial and error, how would we have to modify our process in order for it to be effective with our audience? And so I'm going to hopefully press the right button this time.
Notation.
Notation.
Well, we're going to get to that eventually.
Here's a quick overview. This is a wonderful acronym that Jerry shared with us a few weeks ago. And I really do think that it sort of highlights a lot of the challenges that some of the teachers face that we work with. But the more you can bring their experience into the conversation, the less intimidating the content is if they're not chess instructors. It sounds like most of you are working with folks who already are passionate and knowledgeable about chess, and so it's really helping them understand who their kids are. But then, you know, I think Tony was mentioning he's about to start something in libraries. You have a little bit more liberty in a library, I would presume, than most teachers do in a classroom, but...
Well, yeah, anybody who comes in, it's open chess, so anybody who's in the library can come to meeting room 1 at any level, learn, sit and play, come and review the game that they just finished. So, and then some parents turn it into a nursery. Here's my kid.
But something like the barriers to implementation are not there, so.
Right, they're all showing up because they want to be there.
Yeah,
So they'll
and
pay
I think,
attention.
you know, depending on who this audience was gonna be, you know, part of our preparation was, well, there's some school districts that might wanna adopt chess, but then you have some principals that are like, why are we doing this? Or some teachers that are like, that the principal loves the idea, and chess is great for kids, and then you have these elementary teachers who maybe have never played the game before, and now you have to help bring them on board with that experience. And so I think a lot of the barriers that we think about in terms of, how are we gonna get buy-in? Is this something that works within the system geographically? Like, those are a lot of the things that we anticipated might be in the room, but are not today. So I'm gonna move this forward, and Jerry had given an example of the I do, we do, you do. There's a lot of different ways to frame a lesson. I'm talking too much already, so I'm really itching to hand it over to Ron. But really, this goes back to design, right? So you always want to design a learning experience so that people have a chance to interact, do things, play. Again, the reason I'm saying I'm talking too much is because when I'm teaching, if I'm talking for more than 5 minutes in some classrooms, it's too long.
2 minutes with children.
2 minutes with
2 minutes.
children. When I taught high school, I like 15 minutes, and then do something. Like, you should not be the star of the show.
And teachers are really not that much different from their children.
And oftentimes they're worse.
We call it the guard on the side.
Not the stage on the
We
stage.
let them do the talking.
So Ron's gonna bring you into another
Oh,
activity.
let's get rid of that slide.
Oh, sorry.
Distracting.
Sorry. Selling points. I know.
Okay, finally, I thought you'd never stop.
I know, too much talking.
First of all, quick question, who has already trained a teacher how to teach chess? Raise your hand. Good, so you know what the situation is. I walked into a classroom in the Bronx, and it was the first time I was teaching chess in that classroom, and the principal was all for it, very good, but no one told the teacher that they had chess in this period, because we do chess during the school day. So I walk in the room, and I knock on the door, and she looks at me, who are you? I was like, I'm the chess teacher. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, I'm going to teach the children how to play chess. Do you know what she did? She literally rolled her eyes. She went, oh, I've got a job to do here. I'm trying to educate these children. So I said, okay. And I set up the board. And then I started doing what Jerry was doing. I started doing board geography. And I had the children identifying coordinates. And the teacher went, oh. She thought I was coming in, I was going to put down a bunch of chess sets and the kids were going to go crazy. No, structure. Structure. You have to be very, very structured about this. First of all, I'm very big on observation. The go-to exercise. What do you notice about the 8 queens exercise? General, what did you notice? How much
Night moves.
You notice night moves, that's a pattern. What else did we notice? Question, do you think you need to know anything about chess to do that?
No.
No, it's about straight lines. So I go into the room, I give the 8 queens for that reason. The kids don't need to know. What they need to know is what a straight line is. Most kids know that. And then I will point out the straight lines.
But they would also need to know that queens can move.
Yes,
Infinitely.
yes. And I point out, okay, we have lines that go across with numbers. Does anyone know the name for that? That line that goes across? Any word?
Horizontal.
Horizontal, very good. Anything else? Yeah, yeah. In chess, we have a word called a rank. We teach the vocabulary. Okay? We teach the vocabulary. And we reinforce this week after week after week. Lines go up and down. Do you have a letter? Do you know What do you call a line that goes up and down?
Vertical.
Not a horizontal.
Vertical.
Huh?
Vertical.
Vertical. A column. There's lots of words. In chess, it's a file. And of course, what do you call a line that goes from one corner in a straight line to the opposite corner?
Diagonal.
There's your 3 lines in chess. Now, someone before said communication. I have another word for that. Clarity. Clarity. If your question is not as clear as crystal, daylight, if that exists, the kids are going to have a really hard time giving you an answer. And you start blaming them. And your question wasn't clear. I have a question for you.
Haven't heard it yet.
Don't hit the children, by the way. Who can please explain to me the first move of a pawn? Can someone explain the first move of a pawn?
It's either 1 or 2
Yeah.
squares
Okay, go
forward.
on, tell me, go
It's
on.
either 1 or 2 squares forward.
It's either 1 or 2 squares forward.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Or up for,
Oh,
for
yeah.
white,
It has a choice, right?
up or down.
Or 1 square diagonally up if it can capture,
There,
but
yeah.
not 2 squares diagonally up.
No, you can't. That comes later. But the thing is, if you're not clear, and you say on its first move, it can go 1 or 2 squares forward. So this pawn can go to e4. And I used to watch the kids, and the next pawn move would be here. Then the next pawn move would be here. And I would say, why aren't you going 2 squares? You know, this has a choice, it can go 2 squares. So, oh, I thought you meant on the first move, it has the choice. And I thought, oh, that's exactly what I said. So we had to come up with a very clear, crystal way to explain this. Imagine. So, we came up with this idea. The second rank is where the pawns begin. The 7th rank is where the black pawns begin. Now, let's name the squares. We don't have to do that. But each square on the 2nd rank for white, we call the home square. That's the home of the pawn. So we say, from the home square, the pawn has a choice. You can go 1 or 2. Is it on the home square? Yes. You can go 1 or 2. Then we say, okay, black. From its home square, yes, go.
Can I ask you, because one of the reasons why I'm here is, you have said so many times white and black,
Mm-hmm.
but you have not explained the white is yellow, the black is brown.
Okay, the white is yellow
Light.
and the black is brown.
Light and
No.
dark.
No.
Seriously, I have been in classroom.
No, I know. But I'm trying to move a bit fast.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Well, he just explained your point about clarity.
Yeah.
I know, you meant to. We spoke about that before.
That table's really giving you trouble tonight.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be real.
No, you are real. You are real. You are real.
I'm in defense of Fernando, that's exactly right, because white and black isn't, if light and dark.
Okay, you got it.
There you go, that's it. But it becomes more important to
Yes.
express
I mean, when I
learning
say to the
document.
kids, what do you see on an empty chessboard? Some of them say wood,
Yeah,
because they see this thing here.
Right.
Some of them say cloth.
yeah.
So, oh God, some of them say plastic. I said, come on, does no one see a square here? You know, and eventually you get there. But point taken. So what I'm trying to explain is, trying to tell the kids how to make a first move with a pawn has to be very clear.